Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video, and today we are back on the Monoposto 2022 beta and I will be driving in the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. But before we go anywhere, I need to show you the settings and all of the different options I chose for the liveries, as one of you in the comments was asking me to make a little video about this, so I thought I'd include it in this one. Enjoy the settings of each livery. So there you have it, those are the settings that I used to make the liveries in this update. But anyway, now we move on. I will be driving as Max Verstappen, like I said earlier, around Saudi Arabia. And I haven't really paid too much attention to this track in this game, so this is like probably the first time I'm actually doing a race around here. But for now, I'm going to let you enjoy a hot lap in the cockpit camera. So there is a full lap of the Jeddah circuit in Monoposto. It really does capture the speed. Like, just look how quick that lap was in terms of how fast it looked with the motion blur. It's absolutely incredible. But now we're in the night time for the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. I was nearly saying the Jeddah Grand Prix. Ignore me, people. It's 9 AM in the morning. But anyway, a new feature I need to show you is the race start. And as you can see, I stalled on the grid. Like, of course it didn't really look like I stalled. It looked like I kind of just didn't go for a good amount of time. But now the start is more about trying to time it, as we have a virtual safety car already. I'm down into P10. Hamilton, what are you doing? Are you trying to get revenge for 2021? Oh well, let me let him through. There we go. We've now let him through. But like, as I was talking about, you now have to time the race start, so it's not about holding onto the accelerator and just going. No, you now need to time it. So the race start has gotten a little bit more tricky, and I actually am a big fan of it. I actually do love the idea that I now need to time the race start, but now let me actually commentate the race. Hamilton brake tested me for absolutely no reason as we get underway again, and now I'm in the slipstream in the Red Bull racing car, and the closing speed is incredible with the new update from before with the slipstream. But anyway, into the toe of Lewis Hamilton. I'm going to go to the left hand side. Meanwhile, Alonso has been overtaken by Magnussen, and I've lost my front wing. I've clipped my front wing off. Oh my word, that is a disaster. And I've been spun around into the barrier, and I've wiped out Daniel Ricciardo. What an absolute shambles of a first lap for Max Verstappen. But we're still in the race, surprisingly. But now we've got a lot of ground to make up, and we're going to be dead last as I need to go into the pit lane and fix my front wing. In terms of handling without a front wing, it really hasn't changed much. You still feel a lot of understeer, and the car refuses to slow down when you really need it to. But into the pit lane, and I will go on to a set of, I'm sure you guessed it, the hard tyres. And now all I need to really rely on is if the AI actually fight each other and lose time, because if they don't fight each other, then I'm going to be in a bit of trouble here, because I'm already at the back, and I now need to gain a 16-second gap to Ricciardo, who is in P15, and he also has a gap to P14. So it looks like it will be a bit of a tricky race for me here. But as you can see at the end of lap 2, I've already gained a good 3 seconds on the Australian, so maybe I'm not in the mud here. Maybe there's still hope for me in this Grand Prix. As we move on to the end of lap 3 here, about to begin lap 4, I've now set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and I'm now 10 seconds behind Nicholas Latifi, who has been overtaken by the Australian. So if I just keep up the consistent lap times, I'm sure we will be rewarded and maybe close up to the pack. As we now begin lap 5, a few cars have gone into the pit lane, so I'm up into P13, ahead of Yuki Tsunoda behind. But funnily enough, we're behind Hamilton. That is a bit of an issue. Ricciardo goes into the pit lane, so we're up into P12. There are a few cars ahead of me. Vettel, Hamilton, Gasly and Magnussen, all in a little battle just in front. Meanwhile, Vettel is kind of struggling there on the medium tyre. I'm going to get into the toe, and I'll pull to the left-hand side. Will I be able to make a move all the way around the outside of Vettel? Not quite. My tyres are kind of dying. I have a lot of understeer with the heavy tyre wear, but we're not going to give up. The Red Bull has such an incredible closing speed that I've been able to make the move done on Sebastian Vettel very, very simply, and I'm up into P11. Did you see the straight line speed? Incredible stuff. But next up ahead of me is Lewis Hamilton. No, it's Pierre Gasly, as he's gone into the pit lane. Hamilton making some good progress there on the soft tyre, and that is a bit of an issue for me here because my tyres are severely dropping off, and I'm really trying to push and keep up with the Mercedes, but he just has so much grip in the corners. So I'm going to definitely retreat into the pit lane and make my second stop of the Grand Prix. We cannot get to the end on these tyres. There's just a little bit too many laps to get to the end, but we can go for a set of hard tyres and maybe go for a set of the soft tyre or the mediums, depending how far I want to go in the stint. Meanwhile, exiting the pit lane, Vettel will have a go on the outside line, but we will just about stay ahead of him, and we're into P15. But I don't think I want to try and stay out and drag these tyres for too long, because I want to push as much as I can to beat Hamilton. Latifi was going very slowly there. We managed to overtake him very easily into P14. Next up ahead of me is the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly, and if I was in a Mercedes I'd be shaking in my boots a little bit, but I'm not in a Mercedes, I'm in a Red Bull, and I'm sure Pierre Gasly won't make it too difficult for me here. Meanwhile, Hamilton has stayed out for another lap. Magnussen went into the pit lane, but now I get a really good run from the final corner, and I didn't really need the slipstream. We're going to go to the left-hand side and down the inside of Pierre Gasly, making a lovely move there into P13. And I think at the rate of our pace, we could maybe catch up to Hamilton when he does make his pit stop. Meanwhile, Stroll, we have to overtake him now. Inside turns to the outside, but either way, Stroll backed off before we could even really fight him much. As we move on to the end of lap 9, Lewis Hamilton has gone into the pit lane. Will we be ahead of him? Yes, we will. We are actually kind of clear ahead of him. We've literally done the undercut, and it's worked out perfectly. But now I need to put a car in between us, and Yuki Tsunoda will be that car into the toe to the outside line of the AlphaTauri, round the outside, and that should be a lovely move done as we move up into, never mind, Yuki Tsunoda's come back at me on the outside line. He really does want to fight, but eventually he will back out, and I'm up into P9. He did make that a little bit more tricky than I thought it would be. As we look to the mini-map, there's Lewis Hamilton going round the outside of Yuki Tsunoda. What an overtake from the 7-time world champion. Pretty impressive there from Hamilton, and it's very great to see the AI pulling off such a brave move. But now we move on to the end of lap 12, and I don't think these tyres can get to the end, so we're going to go into the pit lane for the final time in the race. And just to be sure, we'll go for the medium tyres, just so we can get to the end safely. Considering after what happened in Bahrain and Monoposto in my career, yeah, I think I'm going to be happy to just get there to the end safely. We're outside of the top 10 though, and now we need to try and catch and pass Ricciardo, which shouldn't be too difficult on this new fresh set of the medium tyres. So now on lap 13, we're in the toe of the McLaren, and we'll pull to the left hand side, which is the inside line, and we're going to make a lovely overtake with all of that grip. There is really no doubt we were going to make that move on Daniel Ricciardo. A lovely move into P10, and we're back in the points, and we're only 8 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton here. Meanwhile on lap 14, Kevin Magnussen went into the pit lane, and now I have to try and overtake him as Checo has started lap 15 in the lead. Oh, whoa, Magnussen has slowed down and he's out. He's retired the Grand Prix. I'm not sure if it was a mechanical failure, most likely a puncture, but this is that time of the race where the AI will try and stretch their tyres to the end of the Grand Prix, and then, well, of course they'll pay for it. But it's definitely very brave, as I set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton doesn't really want to actually get a puncture in this race. He wants to finish in the top 10. Same with Daniel Ricciardo. So they've both got into the pit lane, so I'm up into P8, and I think this will be my finishing position here today, as I am now starting the final lap of the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, my teammate Sergio Perez has driven brilliantly from P3. Charles Leclerc is only in P4 after doing an undercut that got him stuck in a lot of traffic, and now he's 20 seconds off the race lead, which as a Ferrari fan, I've got to say, I've really got to praise Ferrari for that. What a strategy, really, really clever, to pit from the lead and undercut absolutely nobody. Meanwhile, oh, George Russell has literally retired in front of me with a puncture. So now I'm up into P7. What an overtake. That is my overtake on the race, absolutely. Meanwhile, Checo Perez has won the Grand Prix, Carlito finishes in P2, Bottas in 3rd, Leclerc in 4th, Ocon in a brilliant P5. L plan was really in effect today, as Alonso finishes in 6th. Meanwhile, I will cross the line in a pretty freaking amazing P7 after that awful first lap, and that was a very fun Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. And that was probably my first time as actually racing in the cockpit camera, and it is so much more fun than you actually think. It's very difficult to get used to, but once you get in the groove, it is so immersive, it almost feels like you're actually there. But that, guys, will end today's video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye. Shine, we're golden.